yesterday, Howard Stern gave us plenty of fodder for discussion today. Howard Stern had Tom Brady on his program for the first time ever. They went for 2 hours. There were some technical issues early on. Derek Jeter apparently hadn't paid the Wi-Fi bill at the mansion in Tampa that Tom Brady is renting from him. But they got into it, and what always happens with Howard Stern, he's a master at getting you comfortable, at getting you to the point where you will talk about things to him that you would never talk about publicly with anyone. And for some, it takes a little more time, but he seems to get everyone to that point, almost to the point, Chris, where you acknowledge going in, if you're going to be on Howard Stern's show, that at some point you're going to open up because that's just what happens. And because he's developed that reputation, when you sign on for the interview, you assume at some point you're going to bare your soul about something you would never say in any other setting.
No, I mean, you're right. It's the greatness of Howard Stern. I mean, it's delivered us so many classic moments throughout the years. And I mean, first off, when you do an interview that was almost 2 hours long, I mean, you're going to have to get crazy and open up. I mean, that's the one thing. That's the one thing I'm amazed by. I'm amazed that Brady committed to do – I'm not amazed that he committed to do the interview, just amazed that he went for that amount of time and went that deep into his own personal life and professionally and all that. That was really cool. We don't ever hear that from Tom Brady. And it's something that I would like to hear more of as a fan of his and of football in general. So it was a cool listen. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I tried to just listen to the important parts for now, but I really did enjoy it.
One part that raised plenty of eyebrows, Tom Brady talking about his marriage to Gisele Bündchen, and he addressed why later in his career he had to stop showing up for the OTAs. Gisele was not happy with the way things were going. Here's Tom Brady explaining what the problem was and what he had to do about it.
You know, a couple of years ago, we had, she didn't feel like I was doing my part for the family, and she felt like I would play football all season and she would take care of the house. And then all of a sudden when the season would end, I'd be like, great, let me get into all my other business activities. Let me get into, my football training. And she's sitting there going, well, when are you going to do things for the house? When are you going to take the kids to school and do that? Because she's like, I have goals and dreams too. It's just not to do these things either. So you better start, taking care of things at the house. So 2 years ago, as it related to even football for me, I had to make a big transition in my life to say, I can't do all the things that I wanted to do for football like I used to. I need, I got to take care of things in my family because my family the situation wasn't great.
We talked about this last hour, Chris. You preemptively called BS on the explanation that that's why Tom Brady stopped attending OTAs. I believe that is why he stopped attending OTAs. I think that is a real dynamic that can play out in any marriage. It's refreshing to see that there's that same push and pull, that balance that we need to try to achieve in any relationship like that, where there are obligations, there are responsibilities, there is workload that needs to be distributed, and you need to be present. And if you're caught up in the off-season program, even though you're only there a few hours a day, you're all in with it if you're doing it right, and you're thinking about the next day, and you're preparing for the next day, you're absent physically and mentally from what's going on in the household. And I think that she did tell him it has to change. And I don't believe that this is some elaborate cover for a middle finger to Bill Belichick. I really do believe that he did what he had to do to ensure that he had the right balance in his marriage.
Well, listen, I don't deny that. And I certainly don't want to sit here. I mean, I know Tom Brady, the person, is a really good person. I mean, he really is. He's a great father. And, obviously you can see he aspires to be a great husband. And, from everything I know, he is a great husband. Now, to be transparent, yes, I had heard there was little issues. If you remember back when, he was on the airplane with Ben Affleck and his babysitter, and the babysitter of Ben Affleck had all of Tom Brady's rings on and things like that. I think that was probably caused some stir in the marriage a little bit. And I remember hearing things at that time. But, Mike, I mean, you're either all in or you're not. I don't know. You're the quarterback. I mean, you say it all the time, and the quarterback needs to be there, and that's part of it. And I totally believe him in the fact that, yes, he's tries and was doing his best to do for the family. But, again, I just want to say OTAs are 12 days. It's 12 days of the whole spring. I just have a hard time buying that. Listen, I think that he wanted to be the good father and the good husband, and that was part of it. But I also am just saying, I think part of it too was, hey, New England, I'm kind of sick of you always on my back and not paying me to what I deserve. And this is his way of kind of doing this without ruffling feathers too much.
See, I personally think that the push began in the aftermath of Super Bowl 51, the 28-3 comeback by the Patriots. They win it. It's the year that began with Tom Brady being suspended 4 games. And Gisele Bündchen recognized, and she said this at the time, this is the perfect time to walk away. This is it. What more can you do? Well, you can win another Super Bowl and go to 2 more and maybe do more in Tampa. But that was the year, if you remember, Chris, a few months later, she was on CBS this morning and blurted out that Tom has had concussions and created that issue there. And I felt like that was kind of her way to publicly put a little pressure on him to get closer to the point where they have the right balance in their relationship and he stops playing football. I mean, I assume when she signed on to be Tom Brady's spouse, she believed that he would not be playing football when he's 42 going on 43. So I really do think, and I think this is refreshing. You know, I'm always uncomfortable talking about people's personal relationships, but I think it's refreshing because this guy comes off as a robot, right? He comes off as someone who is above the issues that affect every other normal human being. This is a normal human issue that he had to navigate. And he talked yesterday that at some point, his wife wrote him a letter explaining how she was upset with where the relationship was, and he decided he was going to do what he had to do to get things to where they needed to be. And I really don't think this was a power play against the Patriots. Now, maybe it was easier for him to pick a side here. He picked the right side, and it's easier to pick that side when you understand that this Patriots machine is going to throw you overboard the first chance it gets, the first point where it feels like it's in its best interest to do so. So, yeah, you can't pin your loyalty to an organization that ultimately isn't going to be loyal to you because they're going to upgrade over you when they know it's the right time to do it. So I think that this, to me, was the most human we've ever seen Tom Brady.
Would he have gone to OTAs this year, Mike, in Tampa? Was he not going to go to OTAs this year?
Well,
he was going to be there. He was going to be there.
Wait.
So yes.
Can I? I'm trying to gather my thoughts. You're not giving me a. Can I?
I'm doing what you do to me usually. That's what I'm doing. Nobody gets to spend more time as a professional athlete at home than football players. They spend 8 nights a year on the road. They're home all the time. I know he's an awesome father and trying to be an awesome husband. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, listen, you're going to play quarterback. This is what you got to do. And to me, that was the start of the end because a place like New England with the Kraft family and the Belichick family, it's business. They want to play football and you got to be there. And I'm sure that didn't sit well with them either.
Here's my guess, and this is just a complete and total throw the dart guess. My guess is that behind the scenes, maybe she's been advocating for him to make a change of scenery. Maybe she's been advocating for him to jump before he gets pushed because she's been hearing over the years the anxiety and the concern from him that at some point this Belichick character is going to say, we're done with you. So from the standpoint of that balance, right, we're trying to balance things out in the relationship. She gets a little bit of a victory when he leaves the Patriots and goes to the Buccaneers. And they're in Florida, close to Costa Rica, close to Miami, close to Brazil. So the balance back would have been he gets to go to OTAs because if he wants to vindicate himself for leaving, he needs to be fully prepared. He needs to be ready to go. So this year, he'd get to be all in for OTAs. That's my assessment of it.
Yeah, good job. Good job gathering your thoughts there. Very, very well done. I like that.
Do you agree? Do you agree with what I said?
I think there's some truth to that. I do think there's some truth to that. Yes, I would think as a wife and it seems like they're in a very good relationship and honest and open and everything like that. I'm sure she saw the stress that the New England Patriots organization put on Tom Brady. The daily having to prove himself, have to prove to my coach that I'm still worthy of being the starting quarterback. And yes, any normal human being, even Tom Brady, is going to take some of those frustrations home with you at times to where it filters into the house. I mean, I get frustrated with you sometimes. I come home and it filters through my house for a little bit. So I'm sure it happened with him and Bill Belichick.
You do?
No, not really.
See that's the ultimate test. That's the ultimate test of whether or not this relationship between us works, because my wife really likes you, and I think your wife really likes me. And if either of us were spending our time saying, I can't believe that no good SOB, and I can't believe he does this, and he does this, and he does this, it's going to affect how the spouse views that person.
Oh, you got the whole family in, man. You know, Aunt Wendy, she's buying stock in Mike Florio. Dirty Diana Sims, my mom, she's all in on you. You even converted the big effort, even Big Phil. You got him now where he's like, I want to go do the show with you. I want to do the show with Mike alone. I don't even watch you there. And I'm like, oh, okay, Dad, thanks. So you got my family on a hook. Very well done, Mr. Florio.
But that's the point, though. We have the relationship where it's not going to spark the kind of stuff that gets the spouse upset with the other side of the relationship. It happened with Gisele and Tom. All right, we're going to need to play another clip before we take our break. The issue of concussions. I talked about that earlier, where Gisele let the cat out of the bag 3 years ago. Here's Howard Stern and Tom Brady talking about the extent to which Tom has suffered brain injuries during his career.
Have you had concussions?
Yeah, I've definitely had concussions playing.
You don't sit there and sweat that at your age?
I could sit here and go, well, stop playing football so I could, worry about what's going to happen or worry about this or that, instead of saying, why don't I live my life the way that I want and enjoy it in the ways that are going to be most fulfilling to me, which for me is doing what I love to do. You don't tell musicians stop singing, at age of 42. You don't tell a great painter stop painting at 42. Now, if you want to stop, go ahead. But for me, because I feel like I can still play doesn't mean I should just stop playing because that's what everyone's telling me to do.
That's kind of a stupid argument, because continuing to play professional athletes is tied to having the physical ability, and the physical abilities begin to erode. A painter can paint as long as the painter's alive. For other things, you can do it as long as you can work your brain and work your body to, hold the brush or do whatever it is that you do. For football, those skills go away. He's already 5 or 6 years into house money, and this idea, and I like the stubbornness, because that's one of the reasons why he's still playing, Chris. But this idea that he can just play as long as he wants to play isn't realistic. At some point, Father Time will win.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's catching up to him. We know that, but he still feels like he's got good football left inside of him, and I believe that too. I do, and I think this move, this switch, will kind of reinvigorate him in a lot of ways too. To prove the haters wrong, he wants to make sure it goes the right way. All of that. So, I get that. And, Brady. It's what's made him great. He's mentally tough. He's physically tough. And he loves playing football. And he loves more importantly, the game is the easy part. He loves the work that you have to put into it to be great on Sunday. And that's really where he's special. It's easy to play the games on Sunday, Mike. Hey, anybody can play. The real job is, what are you doing Monday through Saturday? That's the work. That's where you earn your paycheck. The game is fun, and you just let it fly. And Brady's one of those guys that's been willing to sacrifice that. And really, I think he's a guy that looks at it, and, I know I'm kind of like this, where I'd go, man, I'd rather have, 65, 70 great years than, 90 blah years. And I think he's not worried about that. If it means an extra concussion or two, I don't think he gives a damn, quite frankly. And I think there's a lot of football players that are kind of out there like that.
You've said before he will have that arm into his 50s. The legs are what we need to watch, especially in the Bruce Arians offense, because no risk it, no biscuit. Throw the ball down the field. You hold the ball a little bit longer, and you may get hit a little bit more often. And that's what you need to watch. If he can't move away from pressure, that's when the beginning of the end will come for Tom Brady.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.